I've lived many lives, worn by soldiers, conductors, pilots, and film stars. But this isn't just a history lesson. It's my story told from my own voice. From Pennsylvania railroads to Swiss ateliers, I've crossed continents and eras to become what I am today. By the end of this, you won't just know who owns me, you'll know what it took to become Hamilton. Since 1984, I've belonged to the Swatch Group, Swiss-made, global, and still ticking. I now live among legendary names like Omega and Longines. My movements are Swiss, my design cinematic. You'll find me on wrists in every time zone, featured in Hollywood films and styled with modern precision. I speak with a European accent now, clean lines, automatic movements, and vintage reissues that honor where I've been. This is my era of refinement, reinvention, and reach. I'm no longer just a watchmaker, I'm a brand with international voice and timeless appeal. In 1974, I became part of SSIH, the Swiss watch group that would later become Swatch. This was a time of survival. The world was changing fast and mechanical watchmakers everywhere were feeling the pressure. I adapted. Under SSIH, I embraced Swiss engineering and global distribution. My production settled fully into Europe. My designs leaned modern, and I began to evolve into something sleeker, more international. I wasn't looking back, I was learning how to move forward. In 1966, I made a move that would change my future. I acquired Buren Watch Company in Switzerland. I was still proudly independent, but the world was changing fast. Buren brought innovation I couldn't ignore. Their micro-rotor movement was compact, elegant, and ahead of its time. With it, I refined my mechanics and expanded my reach into European manufacturing. I remained Hamilton, but evolution had begun. Quietly, I began to leave behind the place I once called home. In 1892, I stood proudly as the Hamilton Watch Company of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, through 1974. This was my golden era. I was named after Andrew Hamilton, the colonial lawmaker whose land became my foundation. Charles Roode and Henry Kane helped bring me to life. I kept America's trains on time, powered military missions through 2 world wars, and in 1957 introduced the world's first electric watch, the Ventura. For over 80 years, I was America's watch. In 1886, I was known as Keystone Standard Watch Company, until Hamilton was born. I tried to modernize what came before me, introducing stemwind movements and chasing the giants of my time. But innovation alone wasn't enough. I couldn't outrun debt. In 1892, a group of investors saw potential in what I had built. They bought my factory, gave me a new name, and with it, a second chance. In 1877, I was the Lancaster Watch Company, resilient but short-lived. I stepped in to rebuild what had been lost. My watches were solid, my intentions honest, but the market was crowded and unforgiving. I kept the doors open for nearly a decade, holding on with quiet persistence until it was time to pass the torch again. In 1874, I was Adams and Perry, the first to believe a world-class watch company could thrive in Lancaster. Founded by watchmaker Edwin H. Perry and financier John C. Adams, I produced movements that were ahead of their time, ambitious, elegant, and deeply American. But vision wasn't enough. I fell within 3 years. Still, I left behind more than failure: the factory, the tools, and the spark that would one day become Hamilton. I am Hamilton. I've changed hands, homes, and heritage. But through every rise and fall, I've kept moving forward, just like the watches I was built to make.